This is how you record individual service projects into x2VOL. Individual service projects, or ISPs, are projects that you are doing on your own without necessarily having any National Honor Society input. It's just more community service that you're doing, that you are required to do 20 hours of this by the time that you graduate with NHS distinction. Because they're individual service projects, they don't already exist somewhere in x2VOL, so you're responsible for putting them in there and justifying why they count as service hours. So to do this, you're going to click Add Hours, which is right here under Common Tasks. And it's a personal project, so you're going to create a new personal project. Right? Because it's a personal project, you are responsible for filling out all this information so that the president, when reviewing this record, can determine whether or not it's appropriate for earning an individual service project credit for doing it. Right? So let's say that you do a park cleanup. It's really Bedford Town Parks Association. Weekly. And some of these are optional. If you had a flyer for the event, if you had those sort of things and you wanted to attach them here, just because this gets to be a portfolio of your own work, you could do so. It certainly helps the president approve hours if they can see how much effort you have put into validating that what you have done is something that is actually happening in our community. All right, choose some interest areas that this applies to. There's some value in doing this over time as you collect data. You'll see what sort of service you gravitate towards in your log. Here, this is the name of the contact for the event. This is not necessarily going to be someone at Bedford High School. It might be someone who works at the organization that you work with. But this is the person who's going to get an email from x2VOL asking, did this person do these hours? And then they will verify that you showed up and you did those things. So we'll make up a Kevin Jackson. Give him a phone number. We'll give him an email address. Right. Record the hours when you actually did it. So we did this on New Year's Day, and it was 6 hours of work. And then this is the important box. In our old forms, we used to have a couple boxes where students had to explain why the service was valuable to the community and why the service was valuable to the self. There's 2 paragraphs of work there. You don't have to be huge paragraphs, but they do need to be reflective. You're saying, why is this valuable to the community? Why is it valuable to the self? This project helps the town keep its paths clear for all citizens to enjoy, and the volunteer work allows the park to keep their costs low. Right? Maybe a couple more sentences of just why it's a valuable project for someone to be undertaken, and then you can switch gears to I am interested in parks and recreation and plan on being a forest ranger. Right? And why it's a valuable service for you to be taking on, why it's in your interest area. Again, you might want to do a sentence or more there. This is an individual service hour, and then you are verifying this is your signature, that you're not making this up, and once you're done, you can submit. All right? It really should only be individual service hours that you have to go through all this work to create what it is, who's leading it, why it's valuable. Peer tutoring and chapter service. So let's look at this box for just a second. Peer tutoring and chapter service should already be understood. Peer tutoring is something that we know what it is, we know why we do it. It's an ongoing opportunity. There's a different sign-up procedure for it. Chapter service, again, it's an event that has been brought to NHS. We've said it's good as a group. Anybody who signs up for it can sign up for that and call it chapter service. So you shouldn't have to make up your own event. You should sign up for things. However, if you ever miss an opportunity, if you don't sign up for a chapter service, you forget to sign up through x2VOL, then you're going to have to fill all this stuff out. You're going to have to remember who the student contact is of that event. And then, yes, then you can select it as chapter service, so you can still get your chapter service hours. But keep in mind, there's an easier way to get chapter service into x2VOL. That's in an emergency if you can't find your chapter service event. This should be for individual service projects only. All right, that's it. Your project is submitted. The president will look over that information, and once it's completed, decide whether or not it is worth verifying. That's how to put an individual service project into x2VOL.